Ladies and gentlemen, it is 7:15. We welcome our audience watching in on our live stream. I'm Ralph Hipp of Channel 13, WIBW-TV in Topeka. We welcome our audience watching here in the nation and maybe around the world. And we'll have everybody take their seats, and we'll get started with the induction ceremony tonight. This is always such a fantastic evening, and we can't wait to honor these 5 deserving inductees into the Hall of Fame. Well, I want to welcome all of you who are here at Webb Hall at Emporia State University, the campus of Emporia State here. We're in Emporia, Kansas, if you didn't know that already. I'm mostly telling our friends at home they're watching. And welcome to everybody who are watching through the live streaming technology sponsored by ESU. Well, it's a sincere honor and a privilege to be your master of ceremonies again for this 26th annual induction ceremony for the National Teachers Hall of Fame, recognizing the indispensable and critical enterprise in our free society that teachers provide to us in which we live, and the members are really the most important profession in the country. The 5 inductees that we're about to recognize here in Emporia, Kansas tonight, and the 125 who have preceded them. Yes, we will get to a total of 130 very shortly here. They represent over 3 million teachers who every day invest in our children's futures. As a nation, we certainly understand that teaching excellence is at the center of their success and the success of our schools and of our whole country. So the 5 inductees that we honor this evening emphasize and epitomize all of this teaching excellence. They have a combined total of 146 years of teaching experience. We do have our very first pair from Hawaii and Alaska, right, Bob? Never been done before. Hawaii and Alaska. Now, and it wasn't my subject in elementary school or high school, but I love history. Being a newscaster, I've fallen in love with history. But where would we be having Hawaii and Alaska as states without President Dwight Eisenhower, our Kansan from Abilene, Kansas, who put Hawaii and Alaska into the country and allowed us to have 5 instead of 3. So for all of our instructors, we're honoring past, present, and future, and indeed tonight through this induction ceremony, we celebrate the excellence of teaching. Now I go into my Johnny Olson, my game show voice, and I'm going to tell our 5 honorees what they're going to take home tonight. This evening, the class of 2017 of the National Teachers Hall of Fame, surely you know this well, don't you? The whole list. They'll receive a beautiful handcrafted 10-karat gold ring from Herff Jones, a cast bronze bell tower award created by local sculptor John Forsyth. They're all right here for you to take home. I can help you hold those up if you need any help on those. We have access to the learning engine MT1 to vitalize digital learning for the modern teacher. A print of a one-room schoolhouse personalized by the artist, and the artist on this is Greg Burns. It has their name and their year of induction. This is provided through the generosity of American Fidelity Assurance Company, and a proclamation signed by Kansas Governor Sam Brownback proclaiming today, did you know today and this evening is National Teachers Hall of Fame Day in the state of Kansas. You'll get the proclamation too. It's our day. Super. I'm not finished. I have more to read. As fabulous as those prizes are, Bob Barker, in addition to the special thanks of our community donors and volunteers, we want to thank our national corporate and education partners, certainly want to do that, who have generously supported the National Teachers Hall of Fame and our mission to honor all teachers in America this year. This is kind of a lengthy list. Are you up for this? You ready for this, everyone? Okay. Our sponsors are, of course, the NEA, the National Education Association, the NEA Foundation, the AFT, the American Federation of Teachers, and the NEA and the AFT state affiliates. Security Benefit Corporation, Southwest Airlines, the Bank of America, the Jane and Bernard Riebel Foundation, Emporia State University, of course, our host college campus tonight, American Fidelity Assurance Company, Modern Teacher, Herff Jones, which provides the rings, E.L.&Z Irene Hopkins Foundation, we thank them, as well as the Emporia State Federal Credit Union, the Preston Family Trust, and Ted Dintersmith. A special thank you to NPR for their wonderful national coverage. Joining us tonight is NPR's longtime and beloved education correspondent, Claudio Sanchez. Claudio, are you in the house tonight? Yes. I bow to you, sir, as a mere local broadcaster. I bow to you. Claudio Sanchez And I am a huge, as I'm sure a lot of you are, huge National Public Radio fan, and will be listening for your reports. And he's done extensive interviews with all the honorees and the whole mission of the National Teachers Hall of Fame. So for that long list I read, and to Claudia, would you give all of them a round of applause for their support? I did a little Johnny Olson and Bob Barker. This is the part where we say, come on down. We're going to bring our honorees up here. So I am so thrilled to announce their names and our inductees into the National Teachers Hall of Fame for 2017. Ashley Skura-Dreyer. Ashley, there she is. Look at that, standing ovation, Ashley. Right over here. I'll come over and say hello in just a minute here. Jonathan Gillentine. Jonathan, where are you? Matinga Rungatz. Matinga, yes. Joseph Rule is our fourth inductee tonight. And I did check it with Carol Strickland, and Bob, you can confirm for me, he is from Sarah Palin's hometown? Close. He's our Alaskan, from Palmer, Alaska, Bob Williams. Bob, welcome. Our 5 inductees for this year, and yes, decades upon decades of all the studying they did and the educating they've done and the selection process, and to get them here to Emporia tonight, and this is your special moment. We're thrilled to have all 5 of you here. I'm also now pleased to invite to the stage in the platform party, who will be seated right behind them, Dr. David Cordell. David, come on up, and he's the academic provost of Emporia State University. Which side would you like? This side? Okay. Dr. Ken Weaver, who's chair of the Board of Trustees. Dr. Weaver, come on up. Our darling Shirley Naples, a member of the inaugural class of 1992. Shirley, you don't need my help. You got it going on, girlfriend. All right. Dr. Max Friedel, the Director of Academic Affairs for the Board of Regents. Dr. Friedel, he'll take his seat behind them. And also on the panel is Jim Porter, who's the chair of the Kansas State Board of Education, and that is our platform party group tonight. Porter, how are you, sir? Fine, thank you. Great to see you. All right. So now we'll begin by having come over to the podium Dr. David Cordell, the provost of Emporia State University, and David has a few comments he'd like to make. Everybody, please do be seated. It's a little tricky step there, isn't it? Okay, sir.
Thank you so much. Well, good evening, everyone. It is such a pleasure to welcome you on behalf of the university to tonight's festivities as we welcome 5 brand new members of the National Teachers Hall of Fame. Emporia State, like all other universities, we have a mission and we have a vision. Our vision, I'll tell you, is this: changing lives for the common good. And the way we see it, changing lives for the common good, the key to that is teaching and learning at all different levels. You may know that ESU was founded as a normal school. So we've been preparing great teachers here for 154 years now. We are very proud of our flagship Teachers College, and we're especially proud tonight to be the host and home of the National Teachers Hall of Fame. As we get underway tonight, I wanted to mention also that for those of us who are educators, this is a special night. And in one way, I see this as an opportunity for us to spend a pleasant evening with a room full of like-minded people. Because I'm pretty sure that all of us who are present here tonight believe in the power of great teachers to change those lives. Now, these 5 inductees, with them, we're celebrating the very best of the best. But the great thing is, they represent the work that teachers in classrooms all over this country do every single day. So thank you all for being with us. My hope would be that tomorrow, as you leave Emporia, you will do so with very fond memories of the time you have spent in Teacher Town, USA. Enjoy the evening.
Thank you, Dr. Cordell. Now for a few comments, we'd like to welcome to the podium and hand over the mic to Dr. Max Friedel, the Director of Academic Affairs for the state's Board of Regents. Here's Dr. Max. How are you? There you go, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I wish to direct my comments to the inductees, so if you don't mind. On behalf of my chief, Dr. Blake Flanders, on behalf of my colleagues in the Academic Affairs Division, Dr. Jean Rediker and Dr. Carla Wiscombe, on behalf of the Board of Regents, and on behalf of the Board of Regents staff, I'm here to congratulate you and to honor you. However, it is not just you who deserves the recognition and praise, but your respective villages that got you here as well. As we all know, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a village to raise an inductee into the National Teachers Hall of Fame as well. So, to your families, to your teachers, to your peers and colleagues, to your administrators, to your students' parents and guardians, to all those who make you what you are, we thank them. I also want to thank those people who have challenged you along the way. And you wouldn't be sitting here if you didn't have some challenges along the way. So all of the pickles in your life, and I'm sure we've all had pickles in our life that have taught us a thing or two, we should probably thank them as well. But we've probably had enough of those lessons. Thank you very much, right? The best educators could be compared to an art museum with hundreds of beautiful paintings. So much effort goes into the beauty of the art. And so I prefer to think of you, inductees, as representatives of all of the hardworking, dedicated, and persevering teachers in our schools. So continue to help kids learn, smile, and belong. Make us all proud to be in the education arena. Continue to be awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Now we have greetings from our State Board of Education and Commissioner Randy Watson. Here's the board chair, Mr. Jim Porter. Jim, the microphone's all yours. Thank you, sir. There you go, sir.
It is my great honor to be here this evening at the National Hall of Fame 26th induction. I'm Jim Porter, representing the Kansas State Board of Education, and along with my colleagues, we represent about 500,000 students in the state of Kansas. I was going to introduce a lot of people, all of whom have been our legislators and my colleague, but many of them have already been introduced, but I want to introduce one other person. I'd like to acknowledge the Kansas State Teacher of the Year, Jason Sickle. I know that tonight's inductees have come from all parts of the United States, but I bet that they have had unique and united in their experiences as educators. I'm sure that they all know that academics are very important, but there's a lot more to educating a complete child than just the academic part. And I'm sure that they know that it is critically important to develop positive relationships with students. The story I'm telling to you now, although it is probably apocryphal, makes a valid point. There was this father who had a preschool child, and he thought that child was precocious. Of course, I'm a father, and I thought my children were precocious until I had grandchildren. And they're a lot smarter than their parents. And the youngest was only 6 months old, and I can already tell he's smarter than his dad. At any rate, he wanted to teach his child about geography. He thought it was important for him to know about how the world worked together. So he had taught him about Europe and about Asia and about Africa and South and North America. And then it came time for something that we really love as educators, to see whether or not he was successful. He wanted to go through a process of a checking on him, the test. So what he did was he got a map of the world. And in his living room, he cut that map up and laid it on the ground and scrambled it, and then told his son, who was a preschooler, I want you to put the map together. And so he went back and sat in his chair and thinking, well, this is going to be a challenge. I want to make sure that I'm accountable as a teacher, that he was able to do this. And so the little boy came back in just a couple of minutes. And so he thought, okay, he's going to come and say, Dad, I've got to have some help. And he said, okay, what can I do to help? He said, Dad, I'm finished. And so he went back in, and there it was, all together in perfect order in just a couple of minutes. And he said, how did you do that? And what he expected to hear was, Dad, because you were such a good teacher, you helped me do this. But that's not what he said at all. He said, Dad, I turned it over, and on the back was a bunch of children. And I thought if I put the children together, the world would come out just fine. As teachers, and I'm sure I would challenge each of us involved in the education of children to remember that the important thing is to put the children together so the rest of the world will come out fine. So tonight, on behalf of the Kansas State Board of Education and the Commissioner of Education, Dr. Randy Watson, I want to commend you for your commitment to each child across the United States. And I congratulate you on being that very best in education, and hope that you will continue to inspire others to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim Porter. Now we welcome to the platform and the stage and the microphone Dr. Ken Weaver. Dr. Weaver is the Dean of the Teachers College here at Emporia State University and also Chair of the National Teachers Hall of Fame Board of Regents. And Dr. Weaver also has a guest speaker he'd like to introduce. Ken?
Thank you.
Here you go, sir.
Thank you so much, Ralph. Each year, through a rigorous nomination process, the National Education Association selects the ESP, Education Support Personnel, or Professional, of the year to serve as an ambassador and to share stories about education support professionals throughout the country. And Debbie helped to introduce this before the dinner. 2017 marks the inaugural year for the National Teachers Hall of Fame to honor the NEA ESP of the Year with a plaque at the announcement ceremony, which we held in Washington, D.C., and a year-long display in the National Teachers Hall of Fame Museum on the Emporia State University campus here on campus. Each year, the 5 inductees into the Hall of Fame will host the ESP of the Year in Washington, D.C. and Emporia, Kansas for induction ceremonies. Education support professionals work hand in hand with teachers and administrators to make sure that every child is engaged, inspired, encouraged, and motivated by caring adults in our nation's schools. I'm delighted tonight to introduce Saul Ramos, who's going to talk in a minute, but I have a little bit to say about Saul. The 2017 NEA ESP of the Year is Saul Ramos from Massachusetts, Worcester, Massachusetts. He is an 18-year veteran paraeducator who works at Burncoat High School. Saul learned Braille. You think about that. Saul learned Braille so that he could help a blind student in kindergarten. He stayed with that student for 12 years until graduation. He is also actively involved in advocating for the arts and culture in his community. He founded a nonprofit arts organization, Art Latino of New England, that successfully brings the arts, theater, and culture to local communities in many states. He has also worked with libraries, students, schools, universities, and other organizations to bring free courses and free books to families in his community. The National Teachers Hall of Fame is honored to recognize Saul Ramos as the 2017 Education Support Professional of the Year. Saul?
I wasn't nervous until I heard my name. I can feel the pressure, but good evening, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to be here and to be standing here to be recognized as your 2017 NEA ESP of the Year at the National Teachers Hall of Fame amongst such extraordinary educators. As I said, my story began 18 years ago. I began as a one-on-one paraeducator to a student who was visually impaired, and it was my first time working with a student or a person with that condition. And because of his will to learn, and because of what he needed to learn, I decided to learn Braille myself to help him further his education. And as I said, I worked with him until he graduated from a technical high school, actually. So he graduated both with a diploma and a certificate in culinary arts. So it was wonderful because it was actually the first time they had a student who had a visual impairment in the school and also in that program. But other than myself, I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about our education support family, our ESP family. It's not just paraeducators, it's a large group of smaller families. We are secretaries, we are paraeducators, bus drivers and monitors, crossing guards, security guards, food and health services, custodians, translators and interpreters, and a little bit of everything in between. So we do a little bit of everything in our schools. ESPs are an important part of the educational team. We work hand in hand with teachers and administrators to make sure that our students are successful every single day. ESPs meet the needs of the whole student. In other words, we do everything for them that they need. Sometimes we're even the eyes, the ears, the hands, and the feet of our students. We guide them through the whole process. And many times I used to say that we're in charge of the educational success of our students. But now I make sure to say that we're in charge of the success of our students, because we do so much more, not only academically, but we also support them on an emotional and a social needs. The success of our students, and make sure that we all work together and recognize the importance of teamwork. But by recognizing me today, you're also recognizing many, many other people who come with me. You're recognizing all of the education support professionals across the nation, hardworking, who work tirelessly every single day, who bring smiles to our students and make sure that they have everything that they need. You're also honoring our unsung heroes, the many education support professionals who don't get recognition like this, who don't get as many thank yous every single day. You're also honoring our fallen heroes, people who have lost their lives in the line of duty, such as Carrie Chopper, whose memory we honored yesterday, a remarkable human being, a wife, a mother, a daughter, a sister, a friend, an educator, and a prime example of dedication that we have towards our students. So thank you. Thank you for honoring us and honoring our profession. Thank you to the National Teachers Hall of Fame, especially to Carol Strickland, to Jennifer Baldwin, and to Lindy Wetzel for being such an amazing host. Thank you to the university. Thank you for opening the doors to education support professionals and for honoring our profession. Thank you to the NEA. Thank you to Debbie Chandler for being a fierce leader and a reason behind all this happening. Thank you to Noel and Patty Candelaria for your support and your advocacy throughout the years. Thank you to the teachers inducted into the Hall of Fame this year and the many that came before them, and for the countless lives that you have touched over the years. Thank you to all involved, and thank you for recognizing our work, our profession, and our love for education. Thank you.
Good job, Saul. Standing ovation for you, there you go. Saul Ramos. Thank you, Saul. Yes, congratulations to Saul. Thank you to all of our education support professionals throughout the nation who work tirelessly to help our school children every single day. So that's a great way to begin the recognition part of our program, hearing from education leaders on the state and on the national levels. So now we're going to turn our attention to our family, our newest inductees. We are so proud of them and honored to have them in Emporia all this week. And to help us get started, we invite Norm Kennard up here. And Norm is with the 2007 class. He's celebrating his 10th anniversary of being inducted. And he's going to talk about the returning inductees. And Norm, you're going to have them stand. Good to see you. Good to be here. Okay. Let's get your colleagues to take a bow.
We'll do it. This is a family. It certainly, as Krista McAuliffe said, I touch the future I teach. And Carol, this is all about touching the future and these wonderful educators tonight. And the ones in the past, the inductees who have returned, and I would like to introduce them to you, and we'll have them stand, and you hold your applause until everyone has been recognized. Class of 1992, Shirley Naples from Detroit, Michigan. Shirley, would you stand, please? Okay, they applaud anyway. You can applaud all you want. It's a... Wait. Class of 2003, a very special inductee, Carol Strickland. Carol Strickland. Yes, yes. From Emporia, Kansas, and a wise selection that year, and it changed the future of the National Teachers Hall of Fame. Class of 2007, myself from Fort Scott, Kansas. Class of 2014, 3 of the 5 members are here from 2014. Jan Alderson from Overland Park, Kansas, and Cindy Couchman from Buhler, Kansas, and Gary Koppelman from Blissfield, Michigan. And from the class of 2015, Dr. Patricia Jordan from New York City. Thank you, Ryan.
All right. And wonderful to see all their smiling faces again. Well, I'm pleased to invite the 2017 inductees to stand now. Thank you, Norm, for doing that part of it for our previous inductees. If our new class would stand, and we're about to honor them as they join their 125 teachers and members who've gone ahead of them. And Dr. Weaver from our National Teachers Hall of Fame Board of Trustees will welcome this new class of 2017. Ken?
As chair of the National Teachers Hall of Fame Board of Trustees, it is a distinguished honor and pleasure to induct the 5 teachers standing before you, into the Hall of Fame. These 5 were selected by a national selection committee composed of multiple representative education organizations and current members of the Hall of Fame. Ashley Dreher, Dr. Jonathan Gillentine, Matinga Ragaz, Joseph Rule, and Bob Williams. By virtue of the power vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I hereby induct you into the National Teachers Hall of Fame and bestow upon you the title of member of the National Teachers Hall of Fame. I congratulate you on behalf of the Board of Trustees, corporate sponsors, endorsing organizations of the Hall of Fame, and all others associated with the Hall of Fame. And on behalf of all Americans, I commend each of you for being an exceptional teacher. I commend you on behalf of all the students that you have taught and in whose lives you have made a difference. I am personally honored to know you and will forevermore be honored by your presence in the Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
So now we have 130, I guess, and there's plenty more to go here. You know, one of the things we do is have one of our esteemed members come up and read the charge to them. And Shirley Naples is gracious enough to be with us again this year after missing only 2 induction ceremonies since 1992. Shirley, how about a round of applause for that? 2 out of 26. And Shirley is here with her daughter Tracy and the granddaughter Ellie, who drove all the way from Detroit, Michigan to be with us tonight. And we'll have Shirley Naples read the charge to our new inductees. Shirley, the mic is all yours.
Thank you very much. Hello, Emporia. I am so glad to be back for such an exciting occasion. On behalf of the members of the National Teachers Hall of Fame, I congratulate you on receiving this very prestigious honor of being inducted into the National Teachers Hall of Fame. In receiving this award, you are representing thousands, 3 million to be exact, of exceptional teachers who are entrusted with helping to mold the minds and the lives of the children and the youth of America. With this award comes I should have a hand.
I'll help you. Any way you need help.
Thank you. Comes responsibilities which you must accept and continue to perpetuate. You must continue to promote excellence in the classroom, encourage integrity, professionalism, compassion, and dedication in your fellow Americans, educators, and be a strong advocate for the best learning opportunities for all students. You must continue to accept the responsibilities of being an excellent role model for students and other teachers, parents, and the communities in which you teach, are teaching, or have taught. During the days that you have been here in Emporia, preparing for this important occasion, you have experienced the love and admiration of other Hall of Fame members, 7 tonight, was it? And of all those associated with the Hall of Fame and the public at large. When all the festivities are over and you are returning home, you will reflect on what a wonderful experience it has been for, and what an humbling honor you have received. If you can accept this honor with humility, and assume the responsibilities with willingness and vigor. And remember that you are representing all other exceptional teachers throughout the country and gratefully acknowledge the help of many, many people in your journey toward this day. Then you are definitely worthy of the title member, National Teachers Hall of Fame. I invite you to fully participate in the activities of this organization. Returning here annually will be energizing and inspiring and will support the teachers who join us in our ranks in the future, for we are a family. I hope to see you all here in Emporia for many induction ceremonies to come. Congratulations. May God bless you as you continue to serve the most precious people on the earth, our children. Welcome to the National Teachers Hall of Fame.
Handshakes from them all. Shirley Naples, thank you for reminding them of the charge they now have accepted in becoming inductees. Well, to our inductees, we're going to let you have a seat for a while. And this is the part of the show that's This Is Your Life, right? So, as we welcome them in tonight. So we'll continue our evening in the spotlight, the special part where we get to hear from the inductees, and at the conclusion of each one of their speeches from all five, we'll present their awards, and you can take a few photos. Be sure to read their stories in the souvenir program that you have, and I've been told that this class is extra special in their passion for the mission and the professionalism of teaching. So let's meet all of them now. And our first Hall of Fame inductee to our left is Ashley Skura-Dreyer from Youngstown, New York. Hi, Ashley. What do you think of all this? The whole week. Yeah. Well, Ashley has 21 years of teaching experience as a special education teacher, and boy, are they extra special, aren't they? From students in grades 8 through 12, all the way to age 21. And here's the video. Take a look at the story of Ashley Skura-Dreyer.
Hi, I'm Ashley Dreyer, a special education teacher at Lewiston Porter High School. I teach a language arts-based life skills class of students with moderate intellectual disabilities and developmental disabilities. I believe that education is really a human enterprise with an education mission.
Then she went right out and planted another pumpkin. Okay, so what I want to do is talk a little bit about the story. We'll sequence the story now, and then we're going to break up into groups and complete some comprehension questions and talk about the story more in detail. Who can tell me what the problem the witch has in this story? What is the problem that the witch has in this story? What is the witch trying to do that she can't do?
You were.
Bobby, what's the problem?
The pumpkin didn't come off the vine.
The pumpkin, she cannot get off the vine because it's too, what, Daniel? It's too
Big.
big. Excellent. It's too big and she can't get it off the vine. So she pulls and she tugs and people come along to help her. Can the mummy, ghost, or vampire get the pumpkin off the vine, Patty? Do they get the pumpkin off the vine?
No.
No, they have to work. What, Madison? They have to work together.
I really enjoy hosting a weekly television show called Inside the Classroom to recognize outstanding public school teachers. I'm proud to have been educated in our New York State public schools.
All different art techniques learned inside the classroom. We're here with Megan Rogers, who won an award for Best in Two-Dimensional Mixed Media. All right, Megan, tell us a little bit about the types of art classes that you've taken at Lewiston Porter High School and what you did inside the classroom in order to be able to create this two-dimensional piece.
3 times each year, students prepare a meal for 40 friends and family members of our classroom community. I love hosting the dinners because it creates such a close-knit classroom. It's also another performance-based assessment. Students select recipes, create shopping lists, and shop for ingredients for our cooking units or classroom dinners.
Ashley's the best thing that happened to my daughter Laura and to me. Laura has been able to be independent. She's come a long way, farther than anybody ever thought. All due to Ashley's wonderful magic of how she teaches.
So I say to you, stay strong in our fight for public education. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that you do to find what's special in each and every child you teach.
Yes. So let us welcome her. It is her turn in the spotlight, Ashley Dreyer. Come and say a few words to our loving audience.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to stand here this evening as part of the 2017 National Teachers Hall of Fame induction class. I'd like to thank the director, Carol Strickland, for tirelessly advocating for the recognition of our profession. Thank you, Carol. I'd also like to thank Jennifer Baldwin. Thank you for all of your coordination efforts, and to the National Teachers Hall of Fame Board and Selection Committee. I really appreciate this opportunity you've given me, and I'm very grateful to be here this evening. Last but not least, thank you to Rick Pippard, my fiance, for accompanying me on this adventure, and my daughters at home, Heaven and Sky. Thank you for being my inspiration and to always making me try harder to do better for both of you. I want to send a heartfelt thank you to everyone involved in the learning process in our public schools across the country, and I know that Saul mentioned this earlier, but I would love to thank our teacher aides and assistants, our secretarial staff, our bus drivers, our monitors, our custodians, and our healthcare professionals. In New York State, we call them our SRPs, our school-related professionals, and I've also heard ESPs, and we are so grateful to have you on our team. Transforming students' lives begins for the better. It begins with us, the teachers and the SRPs, working together across the nation to meet the needs of all school children. I want to tell you a quick story about my primary school education, because I'm proud to have been educated in our public schools, and they are and will continue to be the cornerstone of our democracy. When I was 5 years old, my mother attempted to register me in a local private school, but due to some special needs, administrators told my parents I'd have to enroll in the local public school. At the time, we didn't realize it, but this was truly a blessing for both myself and my family, because public education has shaped me. The devotion, dedication, and services that I received from some very special teachers helped me become the person and classroom teacher that I am today. I firmly believe in the potential of all of my students, and I came to know the power of a caring teacher firsthand with Miss Smith at Herbert Hoover Elementary School in the Kenton District. When I was in elementary school, this beloved physical education teacher, who also taught me in an adaptive gym class, really believed that I could be successful. Miss Smith did what teachers all do day in and day out in their classes. She nurtured any signs of this slow skill development that I had shown. There were so many things that I couldn't do in her class. I was unable to dribble a basketball or skip or play any type of ball sport requiring hand-eye coordination. And I did not want to learn to do these things. So I was not the model student in Miss Smith's class. I was the difficult student, the challenging student that we all have. But one day after class, Miss Smith told me that she noticed how good I was at working with the younger students during our field day. She cared enough about me to ask help assisting some of the younger students with their activities after school. And after that simple yet profound and life-changing conversation, lo and behold, Ashley Skura participated in her class. I tried harder to learn to dribble and skip and play the ball sports that I didn't want to learn to do previously. And physical education became my favorite class of the day because Miss Smith cared enough to find something I could do. Now, in the educational community, we all find things our students can do every day, and we change the trajectory of our students' lives. Teachers do that every day and deserve to be commended. But while assisting younger students may not have been part of Miss Smith's curriculum, her caring nature helped motivate me to master the physical education curriculum. I was able to overcome hand-eye coordination issues and eventually become a 3-sport athlete in college with the help of a caring public school teacher. Every act of care and love, support given to students is the reason teachers are going to be remembered long after students walk the hallowed halls. And I've remembered Miss Smith for 32 years after leaving her gymnasium. Teachers will be remembered by the lives they've touched throughout their careers. I'd like to ask everyone here, how many of you were educated in a public school? Raise your hand if you were educated in a public school. So the majority of us. Let us promise right now to share in my belief that public education is a civil right and the cornerstone of our democracy. And let us dispel the myth that public education is failing. I hope you'll let your voice be heard by emailing and calling and tweeting representatives to fully fund public education. Let us share in our desire to continue to lead the conversation about public education and advocate for the future of 50 million school children. We must embrace our responsibility to be vigilant activists, to change conversations, and urge Congress to develop a plan that not only protects public education from privatization as a civil right, but also as a national security interest. And when this political discussion gets fiery, please remember the kids who will remember you. We can't leave our teachers and schools behind, and we can't leave vulnerable students with special needs or our most impoverished students to be set up for a traumatic fall when funding for public education is diverted. Talented teachers help students develop a work ethic, responsible behavior, and resiliency that cannot be measured on any test. We need to treasure what's special about every child in our classrooms because we know that remarkably talented teachers can teach all students. You know, in closing, I'd like to say I'm proud that my oldest daughter, Heaven, a junior at the University of Pennsylvania, and Sky, my youngest daughter, both have attended or attend Grand Island Public Schools. At Grand Island High School, Madame Beatty inspired my oldest daughter to study at UPenn by giving her the confidence and ability in the classroom. I couldn't be more proud of our noble profession, and I can't imagine a better way to spend my life than as a teacher. I always ask people I meet to tell me the teacher in their life that made a difference for them. The teacher who made an impact on them or cared about them like Miss Smith cared about me or Madame has encouraged Heaven. Maybe that teacher taught you something unforgettable, something that can't be measured on a test. But everyone I've met, they have a favorite teacher story, a Miss Smith or a Madame Beatty on the tips of their tongues. I started by telling you this story because I'm proud to have been educated in our public schools. Public education is and should continue to be the cornerstone of our democracy. It's an honor to be a teacher, and I'm humbled to represent our profession in the Hall of Fame alongside Matinga, Jonathan, Joe, and Bob. Thank you again for this incredible opportunity.
Ashley Dreher, there she is. Thank you. Ashley, could I get you to come back for a minute? I go. It's time for some bling.
Ooh,
I
love bling.
You have a fiance?
I do.
Is he here?
He is.
Would you like to point him out? I have something for him to put on your finger.
He's thinking, oh my God, how much is this ring going to cost me?
Let's open this up.
It's already paid for.
Okay. Would you like to come up on stage? What's his name?
Rick.
Rick, let's hear it for Rick. Rick, how are you? Good, how are you? Nice to meet you. You had no idea I was going to bring you up here today. Sir, I would love for you to do the honor, and I know we have 3 guys and the 2 beautiful ladies here. This is the ring from Herff Jones, the 10-carat gold ring, signifying that your wife-to-be is in the National Teachers Hall of Fame. Would you love that? We would love for you to put that on her finger. It's a beauty. That's the one from Herff Jones. And it would be on the right hand, okay? Does it fit? Is it okay? Okay. It does. They take care of everything. Would you show that off to the crowd? Ashley Dreher and her ring. And Rick, Rick. Don't go away, Rick. Come on. Feel how heavy this is. That's our plaque, our bell tower, you know, and it's got Ashley's name inscribed on it. Would you like for him to take that back over? Okay. Let's see. There's the ring box, Rick. Okay, and the bronze bell tower. Proclamation from our governor. And keep all this together. And there's the schoolhouse print that I was describing. Would you like us to, we'll leave this up here on the table? Okay, that is all yours. And wear that ring with love and respect from all of us here at the National Teachers Hall of Fame. Now we welcome, and we'll see who puts the ring on his finger in a few moments here. Our second inductee tonight, we're so thrilled to welcome Dr. Jonathan Gillentine, and he is an early learning resource teacher in Honolulu, 36 years, 36 years of teaching experience, as we welcome Dr. Jonathan Gillentine to the Hall of Fame with this video. Take a look.
Helina Kako. My name is Jonathan Gillentine. I'm a resource teacher for Hawaii's Executive Office on Early Learning. In this video, I'll take you to one of our schools where I'll share an oli. This chant the children recite every day as a request for wisdom and knowledge. Then we'll visit one of the classrooms and we'll hear from several of the teaching staff from some of our schools. E ho mai ka ike mai luna mai e. Ona mea huna noia ona mele. E ho mai, e ho mai, e ho mai e. Aloha, e komo mai ke kula Waiahole. Welcome to Waiahole School. This site is one of the 19 across the state that hosts our public preschool program. You see in the beauty of this valley reflected in the keiki, the children and the staff that support them in their learning here. Come, let's see the children in the classroom. This is the web, and we asked the question, what creatures do you see in our yard? You did this on Tuesday with Mrs. Pattison. Have you seen any of these in the garden so far? Remember, this is our signal, get your idea.
Hi, my name is Mark Hirata. I'm a preschool teacher at Linapuni School. Jonathan Gillentine is one of our resource teachers. And one of the ways he makes an impact, not just on me, but our whole program, the students, is that he always encourages us with his knowledge, and it's not in a forceful way. Just the way he relates to me and the children is really in a positive way, and I like that.
Aloha, my name is Tina Pattison. I'm the teacher of Waihole Pre-K Elementary School. I'm Mrs. Kaino from Waihole Elementary Preschool. Jonathan has transformed our teaching practices. Our classroom is now a place filled with inquiry and play, investigation and friendship. His wisdom and guidance are priceless. Jonathan is respected and admired by colleagues, staff, and students. His love and dedication to students and his profession will forever be etched in our hearts. We love you.
My name is Amanda Adams, and I teach at Kanakakai School on the island of Molokai, and I teach pre-K.
Aloha, my name is Kristen Ga'alekahi, and I'm the educational assistant here in Amanda's pre-K class.
And we have a wonderful mentor that comes in and helps us, and his name is Jonathan. And we have a few words that we'd like to say to describe what Jonathan is to us. First of all, he is J for jazzy.
O for optimistic.
N for nice.
A, accommodating.
T is very truthful.
H, very helpful.
A, very artistic.
N, nurturing.
And he's just such a wonderful person. He is a person that comes in and helps us and is very genuine. And most people teach from here, but Jonathan is someone who truly teaches from the heart.
Aloha. Thank you for this opportunity. Ahui ho.
Put those all together, they spell Jonathan, Dr. Jonathan Gillentine from Honolulu, Hawaii. Welcome, sir.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Aloha kako. As I was getting ready yesterday, I thought to myself, I wish I had a lei to give every one of you, and I thought about an image. And so I'm going to give you this image. You actually already have lei around your neck. One of the first lei in this image, one of the first lei that a child gives you is this. So that is your lei. Surely you have touched a child sometime in your life, and you wear that lei with much love from those children. You must have them piled up high. I should put my timer on so I don't go over. All right. Last Saturday, the Polynesian voyaging canoe Hokulea made a triumphant return home to Hawaii after completing an historic journey circumnavigating the globe, taking 3 years and covering more than 46,000 miles. As I have followed the progress of this venture, aptly called Ma'alamahonua, Care for Island Earth, I saw several notable parallels between this voyage and a lifetime voyage of teaching. Just as the navigators used traditional tools to find their way, stars, winds, currents, and waves, we who are teachers also use elemental tools in our work. Trust, care, a keen eye, and wisdom to support children and families as we learn together. The Hokulea paid tribute to local indigenous peoples where they could, in such places as Samoa, Aotearoa, New Zealand, Australia, and South Africa. The ship's crew noted at first these people were strangers, but they quickly became family. The same is true for us as teachers when we take the time and care. Our public school students and hopefully their families change from strangers into part of our extended family, working together within a supportive and supported, diverse community of learning and living. Finally, consider the name of the vessel itself. Hokulea means joyful star, and is the name ancient Hawaiians gave to Arcturus, one of the brightest stars in the northern celestial skies. I would venture that all of us here are guided by a star of some sort. For me, it is my family. My 5 brothers, including Sam, who's with us tonight, plus 3 sisters, my mother and my late father, my partner of 39 years, and many close friends. These dear ones help me understand how being a gentleman and a gentle man would serve me well as I worked with young children and their families. What better stars to guide me? Nainoa Thompson, the captain of the Hokulea, noted while awaiting the concluding 26-mile phase of the journey from the neighbor island of Molokai, and you heard from the people there, to Honolulu. He said, "We have sewed a lei around the earth. This final leg is that last flower in the lei. For me, having retired on June 1st, tonight's induction is the final flower in my lei of teaching. My family and I are deeply grateful to you, the National Teachers Hall of Fame. Carol, thank you so much. Jennifer, thank you so much. Ken, thank you so much. And to my fellow inductees, what an honor. And all the Kansas ohana, I will tell you, Kansas is not Hawaii, but I told Claudio earlier, there's plenty of aloha in Emporia. It is my great privilege to be honored in this way. And who knows, some lei have more than one strand. This may be a new beginning on my teaching voyage. Mahalo palena ole. You have my gratitude beyond measure. Thank you so much.
Dr. Jonathan Gillentine. What a lovely message. We appreciate it. We embrace your embrace of the state of Kansas. We love it here, and we'd all love to go to Hawaii. Wouldn't we all love to go visit Jonathan? Jonathan, of course, we have for you, here is your 10-karat gold ring. You get one as well, sir. Wear that proudly.
My brother is going to put it on my hand.
Okay. And the proclamation and the print. I do have a favor, Jonathan. I wondered if you would also, speaking of being proud of being in the hall, would you please wear this bronze bell tower on your lei and display it all around Hawaii. Show everybody you're in the National Teachers Hall of Fame. Would you do that for us?
Hikino.
He will come and get that later. Rick, how are you doing with her bell tower over there? Okay. Jonathan Gillentine, thank you, Jonathan. You're an honor to the Hall of Fame. It's lovely to have you in it. All right. Now we welcome our third inductee, a 22-year veteran social studies and world languages teacher from Grand Ledge, Michigan. She is Matinga Ragaz, and would you please embrace Matinga by sharing her video in the audience tonight. Take a look.
There's no one model for 21st century learning, and as modern teachers, we find ourselves reinventing the way that we teach. For example, day-to-day operations in a class is personalized by creating online spaces where learners can self-pace and choose how they consume the course content. You know, technology is not the center of learning, but it has become an indispensable teaching aid. As a high school social studies and world language teacher, I am tasked with inspiring students to learn about humanity's great works and accomplishments. And so therefore, I feel compelled to emulate the ingenuity and innovative spirit of the amazing people that they learn about and find personal connections to memorable world events and introduce them to faraway places that will become commonplace to them as they enter the global economy. It is difficult for most students to dismiss historical events when they are provoked into linking their present decision-making process with circumstances that propelled the game changers in their textbooks. Our history units begin by first gaining an in-depth understanding of current world issues that relate to the students' lives. Because when they have a firm sense of these issues as they apply to them, they are better able to step into the thinking behind larger events and grasp huge parallel concepts. I believe schools should be academic forums where kids can learn about their world and their place in it, a place where they can reflect on and challenge worldviews, and most especially, a place where they can find and sharpen their talents. My work in Africa has led me to start a food economy school in an effort to design creative opportunities that encourage economic development through new education models customized for a disadvantaged community. I've been lucky enough to have collaborated with teachers and students in Asia, Africa, Europe, and Latin America. As a connected and committed educator, my goal is to find ways to make learning purposeful and authentic in hopes to keep this considerable promise that we've made to our young people, which is that an education is the key to a successful life.
Here is Matinga Ragaz of Grand Ledge, Michigan, one of our newest honorees tonight. Matinga, welcome, my dear. Thank you. Lovely to meet you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So I didn't bring my phone up here so I could check my text messages. This is where my speech is. Okay. So I want to reiterate one more time the thanks. I want to thank the board of the National Teachers Hall of Fame just for looking onto this little African girl. And for, I don't envy your job to have to pick every year, but I thank you for recognizing our work. I also want to thank the staff and volunteers of the National Teacher Hall of Fame for really putting together something that has made us feel like rock stars this whole week. I really have very few times in my career, I think I can count them with the fingers of one finger, that I have felt this elevated and this appreciated as an educator, and I thank you for that. I want to thank Carol Strickland because, first of all, how can someone so fierce look like this, you have this disguise of your auntie next door? But I would just always remind me to never get in her business end. Because I know in Washington, D.C., that some of the staffers at the White House, I think they got a little piece of that. Because they came back to us very humbly after they had told us what to do, all right? So thank you very much. And, Jennifer, where are you? Jennifer, where are you? Or Jennifer Baldwin, she's probably working. So when I first came into the museum, and I was just really, just anxious, she greeted me with a smile and so it's not that big a deal attitude. And I will forever feel grateful to you for that. Just a smile just made the whole entire experience so much better for me. Thank you. And I want to really take a minute to acknowledge my hosts, Alex and Stacy Johnston, who have just treated us like true rock star nerds. We have done the nerd geeky experience, and so we know all the geeky, nerdy spots in Emporia, and I'm really excited about that. Thank you very much. Thank you. And the university, of course, the Emporia State University, for incubating the National Teacher Hall of Fame, a place where a teacher can feel this way. And I want to thank my classmates. This is the very last night that we'll be together like this. And you've touched me in a way that I will never, ever forget. Thank you for that. Sorry, I got a blubber. And of course, the town of Emporia for including us in their Rockwellian world. It's amazing. So one of the things that, sorry, woo, it's coming. No, So one of the things that I wish, now that I am kind of, I walked away from the classroom, I am now teaching teachers and administrators. I always wish I had a chance, oh, thank you very much, because, you don't want curtains here. I always wish that I had had a chance to be my 14-year-old high school self's life coach, right? So I'm going to task you tonight for you to write a letter to your 14-year-old self about what life is about, or better yet, to describe who you are today to your 14-year-old self. So I wrote a quick note to my 14-year-old self in the first day of high school. I was lucky enough to go to high school in Germany. I have an international education, so I was lucky enough to do that. And so here are some things that I wish my high school self would have known, and I'm going to start with that. So dear 14-year-old Matinga, don't try so hard to fit in. You are a misfit. You are a rebel. You are a troublemaker. You are always the round peg in a square hole. And you're one of those who sees life differently. You're not fond of rules, and you have no respect for the status quo. People will quote you, they will disagree with you, they will glorify you and vilify you, but about the only thing they will not be able to do is ignore you, because you will change things. You will push people forward, move people, and while some may view you or see you as the crazy diva, others will see that there's a little genius in you. Because they know that people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who do. Signed, Matinga Regettes. And oh, P.S., you will marry this guy who has a one-syllable name and he's American, and he will make your dreams come true. I tell you this because, as a high school teacher, I saw this 14-year-old. And these 14-year-olds come in, they know everything. They know everything. As a parent, I know at 14, 15, you're done parenting. At least they think that you're done parenting. But I wish that they would see themselves like we see them. And I wish as a teacher also I would be able to see them. Now, in my role as a teacher's teacher, I want to talk to some of you, and I know I've spoken to some of the young people that want to be teachers, and some of you who are teachers today. I have a quick message because, unfortunately, education sometimes, or school, is not always set up for the young 14-year-old Matinga. Because in school, I learned that I did not learn like others do. In school, I also learned that math was a nightmare. Sorry, Bob. In school, I learned that people like me did not belong with the math whiz and did not belong in a world where things have to be lined up in order, numbers have to add up, percentages they need to point to failure, and thinking outside the box is deviant thinking. I was a class clown, surprise. And I did that, of course, to hide my insecurities. And as a dyslexic, severe dyslexic, I failed where I was not allowed to learn in my way. But then I flourished where I was allowed to, work the Matinga factor. And I want to charge the educators in the room to think about the young Matingas who are just disasters. They're just a train wreck when they come to you. Somewhere in there, there is something. And so I want to, talk to the young educators, or I hope that you can make this message go to young educators, because even though this profession is a fantastic profession, I also believe that there are some red flags in the road right now for young teachers that as educators we need to remind them of. So I'd like to just kind of tell young educators, new teachers, and also those of you who've not been in the classroom a long time, of these roadblocks or red flags that you need to worry about. As a profession, right, we've become addicted to this make-believe urgency that we have dubbed student achievement, AKA test scores, and we've taken our eyes off of learning or really working towards the transformation of habits and behaviors that create lasting change. Our irresponsible misuse of test scores has created a fictitious problem. We are witnessing the squandering of billions of dollars onto a problem that's not the problem. Our fixation with test scores has opened the door to a commercial education industry that seems more motivated by the need to introduce us to learning products, gadgets, and services, rather than to harvest graduates that are skillful, mindful, and altruistic. It's kind of like the diet industry, right? They're more excited about you buying their diet stuff than you actually losing the weight and being fit. So these companies, red flag, are like the diet pill. They're gonna promise these fast and sure results, but they don't really stay for the long run. We are witnessing an addiction to this traditional course of action despite our changing world. Every day, teachers ask themselves this, and I know all of you do, those of you who are in the classroom. What's the point? What's school for? What's the point? And I ask myself, why should a student learn from me when most everything I can tell them, they can Google? So I want to leave you with this. Students want to learn from you because you are inspirational, and not, small little violin inspirational, but because you take the time to become someone that students want to emulate. Your optimism and your enthusiasm are the essential ingredients that help you MacGyver your way through our craft. You are a leader because you have people who follow you. And you can't be a leader without followers. If you have to force people to follow you, then you're not a leader. You're a bully. You're a bully. And students want to learn from you because you're daring. And you're daring because you throw away the script so that you can stay relevant. You encourage your students to question assumptions, reframe known problems, and take a new look at established norms. You're relevant because you do research, and you stay in the cutting edge because you collaborate with relevant practitioners. You don't waste your students' time. Every minute they're in your classroom is a minute they cannot get back. You do not insist in teaching content that they're never going to use in their lives. Because if you ask yourself, what is the one question that we never answer the students? Why do I have to learn this? If you ask yourself that. My son's calling me. Sorry, I can't call it now. So sorry. All right. So sorry. You teach, students want to learn from you because you teach them relevant ideas that are of today. I'd like to challenge all of you teachers. Everything that you're teaching your students, can they use today? None of this, you know what, someday when you grow a beard, you'll be able to use this. What can they use today? What are some skills that can help them change their lives today? So students will follow you, and this is my last bit, because you are not making them plan their lives at age 18. What nonsense is that? My poor Matinga at 14 years old was asked to plan her life, and it didn't go anywhere where she planned it. None of us know what the future holds. So instead, I would encourage you to help your students plan 3 or 4 iterations of their lives, 3 or 4 ways that, you know what, they could live with. Plan A, B, C, and D. One doesn't work, you got another plan. And maybe then you will reduce that stress for, oh, I gotta go to college, I gotta go to college, I gotta go to college. Well, so what if you can't go to college? Okay? So at the end of the day, I wanna ask myself this question over and over again. Why should students learn from me? And I'd like to say that students should learn from me because I make them care, I value what they want to learn, I live what I teach, and I get out of their way. And there's a person here that has been my greatest teacher that I need to direct my words to now. This person is the most selfless person I know, and he has basically created a life for me that is conflict-free. I'm talking about my husband, Dan Regatz. And believe it or not, this is the first time he's seen me speak, even though I've been doing it for almost 30 years. Why? Because he's always taking care of the home front while I'm walking around being a diva. I mean, you don't get to look like this. Dan, thank you for doing what anybody in the world has never done for me. You've never tried to fix me, or never, ever tried to make me work to fit in. You value who I am and who I need to be, and you never stand in my way. In today's world, people like me are not always allowed to soar, but thank you. Because of you, I'm able to fly as high as I can. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your words of wisdom, Matinga. It's a joy to have you in the hall. We have, of course, we have that same 10-carat gold ring for your husband to put on your finger. Yeah.
Yeah, I put my husband out for rent, so maybe, could you put it on?
Well, that reminds me, I was secretly praying you would ask me to do that, because I'll tell you why, Matinga. You see this lady right over here, Dr. Patricia Jordan? Isn't it right, Patricia? I got down on one knee 2 years ago. I got down on one knee with her ring, and I begged her on one knee if she would join me in holy wedded bliss to the Teachers Hall of Fame. And she did. And I would be honored to. Would you like that? Okay. Your husband can take care of it. Don't put the bronze bell tower on your finger, though.
No, I will not do that.
We have the proclamation and the print and the ring, and what wonderful blessings to have you in the Hall of Fame and joining this class. You're welcome, my darling. You're welcome. Matinga Regatz. And I was praying that she would give me that moment, because now we have the final two gentlemen who I can't put a ring on their finger. We'll let them take care of that. Boy, are we delighted to welcome, and you know, when we go the first, the second, the third, and that's in no particular order, just the way they are on the stage. And our wonderful fourth Hall of Fame inductee, introduced by video, is Joseph Rule. And Joseph Rule is a biology, genetics, and science teacher, the projects teacher, with 38 years in the classroom. And he is from Lafayette, Indiana. and being with WIBW in Topeka, and we keep track of our stations. Joseph, you have WLFI Channel 18 in Lafayette. Is that, see, on you, yeah. Our CBS Channel 18, and I hope they're going to broadcast this far and wide, sir. You are in the National Teachers Hall of Fame. And how about, and here's the video of Joseph Rule. Take a look.
Hi, welcome to Jefferson High School. I'm Joe Rule, and this is where I teach biology, genetics, and an independent science project course. Teaching requires a unique mix of compassion and toughness because it can be hard work, but the rewards are priceless. Because you see, as a teacher, I get to share my passion, biology, with young people. I get to use my imagination and be creative. And I get to experience the thrill of seeing an initially reluctant learner's face light up when he or she finally gets it. Of course, this is an invertebrate. That's a vertebrate. For the most part, vertebrates cannot regrow back body parts. Normally, usually.
Is the axle?
The axolotl is an exception. Okay, those are the cells. To create new youthful cells, keep those wrinkles away.
Joe Rule truly does represent a master teacher. His classroom is one in which kids take control of their own learning.
I'm a freshman biochemistry major in Berry College at Rome, Georgia. Mr. Rule is the most passionate teacher I have ever had. Not only is he passionate about science, but he's also very passionate about his students. He cares for us on a very personal level, and I wholeheartedly believe that's why his students are so successful. He is inspiring. He's inspired me to dedicate my life to science, but he's also showed me how to serve others selflessly.
There are a few important take-home lessons that I hope my students will remember. First of all, I want my students to experience a sense of awe and wonder when they consider the intricacies and beauty in nature, from the scale of the very large ecosystems on our planet down to the very tiny DNA molecules within our cells. Secondly, on the scale of the very large, I want my students to understand the science of climate change and the importance of using our knowledge of biology and our problem-solving skills to preserve this planet for future generations. Thirdly, just as diversity within a forest or coral reef ecosystem is what makes those ecosystems strong and beautiful, diversity within our own species is what makes us strong and beautiful and healthy. And there's a wonderful paradox in biology that I hope my students understand, and that is commonness in the midst of diversity. On the outside, we're all very different, but on the inside, on the DNA level, we're all 99.9% identical, and that makes all of us, all of humanity, one family. I'm passionate about all of biology, but those are the most important lessons that I hope my students will remember for the rest of their lives.
Would you join me in welcoming Joseph Rule to the National Teachers Hall of Fame? Joe, it's an honor to meet you. Thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to express my thanks to all of you who are here tonight. I now consider you members of my extended family. And I'd like to extend a special thank you to Carol and Jen and the entire staff of the National Teachers Hall of Fame, the people of Emporia State University, the people of Emporia, Kansas, my family and friends who are here tonight with me, my friends and colleagues who are back home right now, and my students who, now I just finished my 39th year. Just of all those years, I'd like to thank especially all of my students as well, because they have taught me so much. They probably have taught me as much, maybe more than I've taught them. And those students have also given me so many wonderful, I call them moments of serendipitous joy.
and they continue even after they leave high school. Here's an example. Last fall, I was in Walmart. I forget what I was looking for. And I had a student, a young lady, 20-some years ago, who had no filter. Have any of you ever had a student who had no filter? She was very brash, no filter. And I'm pushing my cart through Walmart last fall, and I heard this voice, "Mr. Rule!" And I said to myself, that's that girl with no filter. And she yells, "Mr. Rule!" And here it is. I'm in the produce section, okay? And I turned around, and she said, "You're still alive?" And I call those moments of serendipitous joy. I am so thankful. I am so thankful to wear the title of educator. And when I'm talking about educators, I'm talking about not only teachers, but administrators, guidance counselors, librarians, bus drivers, cafeteria cooks, custodians, paraprofessionals, everybody who's involved in the lives of kids. And so I'm proud to be among that number. And I'm thankful for the awesome responsibility that we have and the charge that comes with that title of educator. I can think of no higher calling than that of being an educator, because we shape the lives of future generations. And because we shape the lives of future generations, we have the ability to literally change the world. It's an awesome responsibility, and I'm so thankful for the opportunity to be a part of that. I also want to add, and I'm going to try to do this without breaking up, I am so thankful as well for my new extended family, the other 4 inductees. We have become a family, and I will remember you forever, forever. So for me, personally, it's not just a job, it's a calling. It's an honorable calling. We humans, I believe, are most fulfilled, most satisfied when we have a purpose. And I'm thankful to be a participant in the most important profession on the planet. Despite the politically motivated and propagated myth that schools are failing, everyone who I run into in public who is not an educator, when they find out I'm an educator, and I'll bet you've experienced this, I sense deep respect when I look into their eyes and hear their voice. And I would go so far as to say even a sense of reverence. Thinking people understand and know how important the job is that we do. You know, I also have the opportunity, and it's a great joy and blessing, to speak to groups of beginning teachers every once in a while, something I enjoy doing so much. And what I share with young people who are considering teaching is that, first of all, count the cost. It's hard work. Teachers roll up their sleeves and put love into action. Teachers live lives poured out for their students. But it's not totally selfless. There are rich blessings. This is what I tell them. And here they are. Here's number 1. I get to work with people who are fun, funny, energetic, creative, and insightful. Now, in my case, they happen to be 14 to 18 years of age. Number 2, I get to pursue my passion, and I think you maybe saw that in the video, biology. I get to share that with young people. And oftentimes the routine is broken up with, again, those moments of serendipitous joy. For example, at the beginning of the school year, I bring in these buckets of pond water, and I've learned over the years how to concentrate those microorganisms in there so that when the kids take a turkey baster and get some pond water and put it in a petri dish and put it under a dissecting microscope, it's swarming with all kinds of wonderful little creatures that they have never seen before in their lives. And one day we were doing that, and a girl yelled, "Mr. Rule, come over here." She had found the Daphnia, which is a tiny, tiny little, almost microscopic, transparent little creature. They jump and dance around under the microscope. She had found the Daphnia, and she said, "Mr. Rule, I found the Daphnia, and it's having babies. They're popping out one by one." Now, I had never seen that in 38 years of teaching. So I went over to her microscope. Sure enough, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't pull myself away from the microscope. There she was. There were 8 or 10 of them. You could see them inside of her. They hatch out inside, and then they come out. Looks like they're giving birth. They're popping out one at a time. And so the kids all left their microscopes, and they all wanted to line up behind this particular one. And I stood back, and I thought, oh, God, this is what it's all about. And it was electric. You would have thought the principal had come over the intercom and said, "School's canceled for the rest of the day because of snow." That was the spirit. So that's what I mean by, see, I get to experience those in my profession, those moments of serendipitous joy which are priceless. Number 3, I get to be creative. In biology, we learn about a monk who lived in the 1800s, and he discovered the laws of inheritance. His name was Gregor Mendel. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of him. Oh, wonderful, educated group. He did these crosses with pea plants and figured out the laws of inheritance. And so I found a little courage, from the Cowardly Lion maybe here in Kansas. I found a little courage, and I decided I'm going to get a monk's robe and the whole bit, the whole costume, the period glasses, the crucifix, the clerical collar, and Gregor Mendel's going to come into my classroom and talk to the kids about his experiments. And they treated Mendel better than they treat Mr. Rule. It was amazing. I couldn't believe it. And so the opportunity in this profession, young people, to be creative, you don't have that in many other professions. But the fun part was at the end, after I was, during my prep period then, I went into the boys' restroom to change clothes. And so I took the monk's robe and everything off. Now, I did have pants on underneath, and I had just this old white T-shirt on. And I put a towel over my neck, and I'm leaning over the sink so I could wash all the black hair dye out and the hairspray and all this stuff. Now, we're a big school, 2,200 kids. So nobody knows everybody. Big school. And so I'm in there washing, got this old white T-shirt on. Some kid walked into the restroom, and he saw me, and his eyes got real big, and he left immediately. And then I found out from my buddy, Mr. Houston, who teaches earth science. He was laughing. This was at lunchtime. Bill was laughing, and he said, "Joe, I sent a kid to the restroom, and he came back immediately." And he said, "Mr. Houston, there's a homeless guy in the bathroom." It's just these moments of serendipitous joy that just are wonderful. Number 4, I get to pursue a passion that is satisfying and fulfilling. It's satisfying, it's fulfilling. I mean, I'm going to be starting my 40th year this fall. It's satisfying and it's fulfilling, and I think I know why. I'm learning from recent brain science, brain research science. It appears that our brains are wired for loving and being loved. And so it makes sense that teaching would be a satisfying profession. Now, when I talk to young teachers about the importance of loving your students, some of them get nervous, and they look at me like I've got lobsters crawling out of my ears. And I quickly explain to them, I'm not talking about warm, fuzzy love. I'm not talking warm, fuzzy, emotional love. I'm talking about the kind of love that C.S. Lewis talked about in his book, The Four Loves. It's the highest form of love. It's called agape love. It's not always warm and fuzzy, but it's always decisional. And it helps us to love those students who aren't always real likable. It's a self-sacrificial kind of a love, putting the other person first kind of a love. And I have found that it really motivates. Science is showing that our brains appear to be wired for this way of engaging with our fellow human beings. And so I find it interesting that the science is verifying what the ancients taught us so long ago. I mean, I think of a first-century rabbi named Jesus who said, "It's more blessed to give than to receive." I mean, that was 2,000 years ago. And then the ancient Chinese, even before that, there's an ancient Chinese proverb. It goes something like this, and it verifies what modern science is showing us. And it goes, if you want happiness for an hour, take a nap. If you want happiness for a day, go fishing. That's what I'm talking about. If you want happiness for a month, get married. Hopefully for longer than a month. If you want happiness for a year, inherit a fortune. If you want happiness for a lifetime, help someone. It's an ancient Chinese proverb. I mentioned before that teaching for me is not just a job, it's a calling. And because I love this profession so much, I am grateful to the National Teachers Hall of Fame for a new calling, for selecting me and my 4 family members here to be an ambassador and a voice for education. It is my hope and my prayer that I will have the strength and the stamina and the creativity and finally the love, because the greatest of these is love, to faithfully carry out this high calling. Thank you.
About to introduce Bob here. These pictures will be seen on Channel 13 tonight on the news, so everybody in Northeast Kansas can see this video. I'll follow you. And he gets the school. Well, Bob. We are thrilled to welcome this gentleman here. Just a shade under 30 years of teaching math, right, Bob? Yeah, in Palmer, Alaska. And he's certainly not the rear of the class, not the tail end here. Our esteemed honoree, Bob Palmer from Palmer, Alaska. Bob Williams from Palmer, Alaska. See, because my script is over here on the floor. So are they going to play the video? So are you ready to see this video? Let's see the video. Bob Williams of Palmer, Alaska, and here is his video, and we'll get him his ring and stuff.
this? What does this represent?
A line. A line.
No, on the disk method, what is that in the integral?
The outer.
Outer what?
Outer radius.
Radius. And on your washer method, what do you do with the outer radius in the integral?
Oh, yeah, I see.
What'd you do?
We forgot to square it.
You got to take one of your points and put it in the point slope form of a line. And you're not going to get 5. If you put the point, you use the same equation as number 1 and number 2, but are they the same lines? No, they are not the same lines. So that throws everything off. Your model looks beautiful. Beautiful model, but you got to get the right equations.
Is low D high minus high D low all over low low. Woo! Never give up hope when you have point slope. Y minus Y1 equals M times the quantity of X minus X1. Woo! Proving triangles similar. Angle, angle, similarity. Side, angle, side, similarity. Side, 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 similarity.
I like how you make acronyms for everything.
Love how Mr. Williams is really enthusiastic about his work, and it just makes it a lot easier to learn math.
You make calculus fun.
Mr. Williams is always very enthusiastic.
I love how goofy you are. How you're always having a good time.
Mr. Williams is the most funny person I know.
Mr. Williams just works super hard on helping us understand calculus.
You make math classes really fun. Math is now my favorite class, and you're my favorite teacher.
You make calculus fun.
Mr. Williams always cared about whether or not a student was understanding or not, and he always tried his best to make sure that student knew what they were doing.
You were my favorite teacher in high school. You were the coolest guy, and you were just so passionate about teaching us calculus and seeing us succeed, and it was just it was the coolest thing.
Passionate math teacher I've ever had, and you made my love for calculus increase without bound.
Mr. Williams, you're my favorite dude. You're a classic.
So Mr. Williams is always really upbeat, and he always comes up with these crazy things, and every student thinks that they're crazy, but then they always remember it through his crazy cheers.
Hey, Mr. Williams, thank you so much for making me love math.
I hope we make a lasting influence on you like you have on us.
And his students remind him, let's hear it from Mr. Williams. Yay.
Thank you very much. I just have to say I'm just overwhelmed and honored, but basically overwhelmed with gratitude. And that slide of my mom and dad. My parents, my dad was a logger, had a one-man sawmill in Palmer, Alaska, and my mother was a nurse. And my father passed in 2010. My mom is still alive, but I just want to say how honored I am to be their son, and that growing up the son of a logger, you develop a strong work ethic, and that's one of the best gifts that you can have. And so, as wonderful as this honor has been, I just want to share that the values that I learned from my parents, the work ethic, to always strive for excellence. I hope I've honored my parents in my lifetime work as a teacher, and it means a lot. So thank you. I really wanted to include my students and the staff and the school in this experience. I hauled a calculus project here to be displayed at the National Teacher Hall of Fame, and it was a little awkward getting on the plane because it's about 2 feet by 3 feet. But I want to thank all the students. That video, when I saw that video, some of the things the students had made, it was just so rewarding and so meaningful. So I want to thank Cade and Kelly,
Lexi, Cameron, Leah, Lily, Colleen, all my Algebra 1 classes, my geometry classes, my calculus classes. You were wonderful, and it's just been an honor to be a teacher and see you learn and grow. I now work for the Alaska Department of Education and Early Development. I want to thank Commissioner Johnson for letting me come here this week and just say I'm really proud to be part of that team. And Commissioner Johnson wanted to come, but he couldn't make his schedule. But I love working with Commissioner Johnson, Deputy Commissioner Santa Eford, Paul Pressing, also the people who manage the units in the division that I lead as director, Sandra Meredith, Brad Billings, Todd Brocious, and the rest of the team. I think we all work together to see the highest quality education we can for all students. I also want to thank Claudio Sanchez. The visit we had in Washington, D.C. was very meaningful. And I know the media doesn't always get a lot of love every single day, all the time. But but they have a job to do, and they need to ask questions, share information, get at the truth. And I just want to say that Claudio, you always wonder, well, how much do the reporters really care? Or are they just doing their job? Well, in the conversation with Claudio, I can tell he really cares about education. He really cares about public education. And he wants to see a high-quality education for all students in the United States. And that's great and wonderful. And I'm not saying he's perfect. I hear him, and he probably disagree with me, but I hear him, he always says NPR. And I think as math teachers, any math teachers in the room, it's not NPR. It's the permutation of n things taken r at a time. And technically, he doesn't need to say all things considered, because if you've looked at all the permutations, you really are considering all the things, and so it's somewhat redundant. But in talking with him, one of the questions he asked me was, do you think, why do you think the Nationals Teacher Hall of Fame is Emporia, or should it be in Emporia, Kansas? And I think that's a good question to think about. Where should the National Teachers Hall of Fame be? Well, I would think it shouldn't be on the West Coast necessarily or the East Coast. It should be probably somewhere in the middle. Probably not at the very top of the Continental or the bottom, kind of somewhere in the middle. I think it should be in a place where education is highly valued, where you walk down the streets and you see teachers in the storefronts, National Teacher Hall of Fame on banners, where education is celebrated. I think it should be in a place where I just saw this, I think it was yesterday, a professional nearby baseball team, they hit a grand slam home run and came from behind and won the game. That was on page 7. But on the front page of the Emporia Gazette was the National Teacher Hall of Fame, the inductees, and teachers. And I have to say, I think it should be in a place where I was delighted to be at a table with the mayor, head of the Chamber of Commerce, and just hear the strong support for public education in general. That's where the National Teachers Hall of Fame should be. I have to say that getting into the National Teachers Hall of Fame is different than I expected. I thought it was going to be a finish line. I thought it would be, now I can rest. I finally made it, and now I can just rest for a good long time. And I'm very honored. I'm very grateful. But I have to say I'm not satisfied. I won't be satisfied with my work in public education until we see equitable outcomes for all students across the United States. I won't be satisfied till we see that in indicators like the NAEP assessments or the PEAS exams that show that our kids can do problem solving competitively across the world. I won't be satisfied till I see our students, like particularly in Alaska, we have a lot of ugly numbers. There's so many things about education that's very, very rewarding, but I have to say in my 29.7 years as a teacher, there are ugly numbers and ugly things that sometimes happen to students that stop you dead in your tracks, that make it so hard you wonder if you can go on. But you can work collaboratively with others and you find the courage to go forward. But we need to improve. We cannot be satisfied with what we currently have. As the Director of Educator and School Excellence, I'll be back in work on Monday, and I'll be working with the team on getting out the second draft of the Every Student Succeed Act for Alaska for that application. I'll also be working on Governor Walker's Alaska Education Challenge. And it just strikes me that this is not a finish line. So wherever we have the National Teachers Hall of Fame, I think they should have a race, like a long race, maybe 200 miles long. Maybe call it the Dirty Kanza. And you don't finish a 200-mile bike race all at once. You should have checkpoints. You know, maybe at Madison, Eureka, then come back at Madison, then come back to Emporia. But that's what I think National Teachers Hall of Fame for my fellow inductees and for all of us is. It's not a finish line, it's a checkpoint. It's a checkpoint to reflect on where we've been, what we've accomplished, and then to push forward. I came here to learn and listen, and I think Kansas is just a fantastic place to do that. The one-room schoolhouse. I can say in Alaska, one of the biggest challenges we have a lot of small rural schools with 1 or 2 teachers in small rural Alaska communities. And the big challenge, we have high teacher turnover, sometimes high principal turnover, sometimes high superintendent turnover, but the big challenge is bringing high quality education to small rural communities where often they have one schoolhouse. So I would hope the National Teachers, wherever the National Teachers Hall of Fame is, that there'd be a one-room schoolhouse nearby to kind of show that commitment, not just to large cities, but also rural communities. And I also, yesterday, I drove to Kansas City because Alaska is one of 5 states participating in a federal grant that the University of Kansas runs. And there were 29 Alaskan teachers at that professional development. So I went out there, I helped recruit some of the teachers through the superintendents and talked to them. And what encouraged me was talking to teachers, talking about that professional development they were receiving through the University of Kansas, how it was going to help them be more effective in the classroom, working in multi-grade classroom, working in rural communities, and making a difference. So I think the perfect place to have the National Teachers Hall of Fame is Emporia, Kansas. And last, I would just like to thank, and this brings up that last slide of my wife, Connie, my son, Kevin, and my daughter, Cassidy. I love education. I love teaching. I love the profession. I love my fellow inductees. But I cannot express what joy and what overwhelming sense of love I have for Connie, Kevin, and Cassidy, that they are in my life, and that my life has been truly blessed. So no matter how long I live, this work has been very powerful, but to have their love and to be able to love them means so much. So thank you, Connie, for being here. And I love Emporia. I love the National Teachers Hall of Fame. I love my fellow inductees, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Bob Williams. Thank you, Mr. Williams. Well, to Ashley and Jonathan, Matinga, Joe, and Bob, welcome in as you make 130 inductees now into the Hall of Fame. I was wondering about who will be the next 5, up to 135 when we get back together again. And they're probably finishing up a busy school year. They're relaxing or planning summer vacations. They may have the germ of an idea that there's a National Teachers Hall of Fame over here that some people, or they are themselves, they're considering applying for that honor. So I would like to go for that. So we don't know who they are, but we'll get back together again in about a year in that anniversary, which I can only say is between the 26th and the 28th anniversary of the induction. To our 5 honorees and to our esteemed panel, Safe travels home, safe travels to all of you. And that's our induction ceremony for 2017. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and we'll get back together again next year. Have a good night.